Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Usually the chair will do the call to order. I'll do the roll call, and if somebody would like to do the land acknowledgement, I'll start with the roll call. Member Bainan?
Here.
Member Carlton?
Here.
Member Green?
Here.
Member Johnson?
Here.
And Chair Baldwin?
Here.
Would somebody like to read the land acknowledgement tonight? Okay.
The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lejeune. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home.
So if everybody, I put a copy of the draft minutes in for the last meeting in October, which I didn't attend. So if there are any changes, please let me know, or modifications, or if everybody got a chance, you'd need a motion to approve the minutes as is, or with any changes, and then a second.
Sorry, can we see the minutes again? I did look at them, but I'm sure I'm fine, but since a lot of it seems to be on me today, so sure.
If there were, it looked like there was a lot of kind of back and forth for those last two motions at the end of the last meeting in October. So I think I got those for what the committee intended. But it looked like at one point there was both a non-approval for two of the artists and then an approval for all four, but with some conditions you'd want to talk about more at the next meeting.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to bring it back up? Yeah. If there's a particular area where you want me to leave it, just let me know.
I'm fine with the agenda.
Okay, so if somebody wants a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Member Bainan?
Aye.
Member Carlton?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chair Baldwin?
Aye. Want to move on to public comment?
Yes. So for public comment, looks like we don't have anybody here in the in-person audience. We do have members in the virtual audience. If anybody in the virtual audience would like to raise their hand and comment on matters not on the agenda, please raise your hand, and we can call on you to allow 3 minutes of public comment. Not seeing any hands raised.
All right, so we'll move on to staff and community member announcements.
Yeah, I do have a couple announcements. First of all, it's nice to be back and see everybody here. Probably the most significant thing that we're working on right now that's taking up a majority of my time is the launch of the new website that we're looking at bringing to life in the first quarter of 2025 with some new city branding, some colors, designs, and functional improvements on the old website. Namely, one of the things will be one of the first bits of content that we will look at addressing with new logo and graphic design will be the documents that we use for the art gallery, the application and the letter. That'll be some of what I retool as we look through it. It'll be an opportunity for us as a staff to look at what new documents and forms and et cetera will look like with the new design content. So you will be some of the first to see it after we look at these particular forms and this bit of information. So when it's rolled out for the new artists, it will include the new branding. I also wanted to mention tonight, as I got word from Harsh, that he has a baby boy, 2 weeks old. He will not be attending tonight's meeting, and that his son is named Julian. Perhaps after our chair right now, perhaps after my son Julian, or perhaps they decided independently as a couple to pick the name that they wanted. I've also been in conversation with the artists with the mural project with the collect. So it's taking a little bit longer. We haven't run into any issues with BART, but we've decided that the particular process of working with BART and the timing and working with council, we have to enter into a contract with the artist sooner rather than later in order to be able to provide the city council with a more finalized design. What we were looking at before with a stipend for a representative design, when we started looking at the timing for how it has to go to BART before it goes to council, we decided that there would be a way that we could create a timed contract which would create more, it would allow the artist to do the actual bulk of the work, to provide a finalized design for the community to look at, and a finalized design for art and city council to approve, which is functionally different than what we said in the initial part of the application.
So is it still on track to
Yes.
be done in the summer? Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't talked with the artist since before the holiday break, but we've been reviewing with city attorney and putting a contract together that would get them what they need to be able to do the work they need to do to provide a finalized design and keep it on schedule. And so far, it still works with the artist's plans for next year, and the timeline looks like it's going to line up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those are all the announcements that I have for right now.
Thank you.
And does the committee have any announcements, any committee members?
Part of the agenda, so I don't have any.
We have no presentations. It takes us right to the business for tonight. And I can go ahead and get this started. There wasn't a lot that the Arts Committee has to look at right now, but this actually was a pretty good time to review. Foyer Gallery is that's something that we've been talking about for several meetings, and now that there was some discussion from the meeting that I didn't attend back in October, I thought this would be a good time to finalize that discussion, but also bring in some of these other elements that the committee has discussed in the past as to what types of shows should be in there, what does the artist agreement look like, what should we feature on the website about what the gallery is, what it could be, what are some visions for the future. have tonight's meeting to, if not finish the discussion, begin the discussion, and then also review the current documents and see what may need to be changed, either for clarity, for better describing what somebody would be applying for. Looking at some of those other specifics about one-party, two-party shows, maybe there's something that needs to be called out about that. I think also one of the things that could be considered is how much wall space is there. I was looking around for the actual square footage of what the wall space is, and I couldn't find the actual dimensions, thinking that that might be helpful for an artist planning a show. Should it go to the ceiling? Should it not go to the ceiling, right? You know, in terms of how something is displayed, some other aspects. I think we covered a number of things in the update to the application, but when I went back and looked to see what the actual artist agreement is that the artist receives and needs to sign and say that they're on board with what the rules and parameters of the show are, we didn't really have it. We had older information and not really a good way for somebody to sign and agree to it. It was very casual, and I think it needs to be a little bit more official. So I shared the documents with our gallery manager, with our chair, and it's here on the agenda, so that the committee could look at all the documents, and if I could suggest a kind of a path for tonight's meeting is to maybe finish up whatever discussion was continuing on from last meeting, then also use this opportunity to look at those documents together and see if anything stands out. If somebody wants to take some notes and compile changes, or I don't have the documents up to do track changes, and I don't think we should get into like editing everything specifically, but if we can take some notes, send those back to me, then I can update all the documents with whatever the committee's thoughts are, or what's missing, what should be eliminated, you know, what's important, maybe there's some things that aren't important, et cetera, et cetera.
And you received the Word docs I edited, right?
I did, but since I've been working primarily on the website, I didn't necessarily see the changes. I could open the documents, but I didn't see specifically what had changed. So you might want.
Yeah, I can go through them. They were very minimal. I wanted to minimize the liability gallery. There were some things, left over. It's about us. For example, providing punch and coffee and flowers, and we don't do any of that. So I made notes in that to remove that. And there's also notes that felt like you were asking artists to be required to provide prices and everything for their artwork, making it seem like they had to sell their artwork. And so I just made a little disclaimer there that you don't, if you intend to sell, then you need to provide a desk with, you know, that information. And also I did go back, and I have completely rescinded my whole thing about the hardware.
Okay. So after being gallery manager for a while, now you feel differently about the hardware, or?
Yes, I do. It is, honestly, that hardware is a pain in the ass, but it is very secure, and it keeps the art safe. And so far, all the feedback I've gotten has been, everybody says, it's like, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it works. It makes them feel better, you know, that it's going to be safe. It does require that the art pieces be mounted a certain way, have to be,
Well, actually, before we get into too much specific detail about that, I think it'd be more helpful for the committee members who haven't seen all of these documents or been reviewed. Well, I'll bring those up on
oh, yeah.
the screen and we can look at it all together. But perhaps you want to, I know that there are some other items from the last conversation about artists at the Foyer Gallery. Maybe we'll just start, Brad, if you can let the committee know where you're at with after you've been meeting with the artists who were approved, and what's going forward for next year.
Yes.
And then from there, I can answer any questions that I may have the answer that I couldn't answer last time when I wasn't here.
Okay, yeah. For starters, thanks everybody for voting on the artists last time. I've been in contact with all of them, all very excited to show. Some, I tried to put out a schedule for when they would show. I've got a preliminary one, which I'm not going to show right now, because I want to confirm with the artists, because a couple of the artists just could not at all get their work together for the first quarter of 2025. But I did find two artists, the two artists that we talked about showing together. They were very excited about doing it. We've met, we've talked, and we've decided where their art is going to go and everything. So Eugenie Shu and Elizabeth Weiss will be showing the first quarter. And I've been in contact with Karen Butwin, and Lisa Rose, and they're also very excited to show. They needed a little bit more time to get their things together, so that's fine. They're going to have 3-4 months. I have not had any response from Sue and Moffett.
Okay, I can follow up with her too, because some of those details are specific to her project, and then we can look at what the time slot is for hers, and whether or not that'll still stay on track. So it may be a little bit fluid right now.
Okay.
As that project takes shape over 2025. But it seems like you've done a good job being and working with the other artists for them to be fluid too. I mean,
Yes.
a little bit, either extending. I don't think we'll ever be cutting anybody's time, but we may need to extend some time along.
Yeah. And we do, because of the tightened time frame to get a show up for the first quarter, we will have an empty gallery space for a little bit, a week longer than normal. I haven't reached out to Lucy Ames, who is a current artist, and I could ask her if she would like to extend it for a week.
Because she's already extended it one time already, correct? Or
No,
oh no, she hasn't.
that was a different artist.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can ask her that. A lot of artists are fine with extending for a week. Where's it going with this? So really, I have not reached out. I've reached out to all these artists and let them know they have been accepted, and just kind of given them brief time frames. But we have not settled on anything. But our Q1 is set, so we're good for that. And I will get the rest of the artists settled. But I do need artist agreement finalized, because honestly it's late.
Okay. In looking at the schedule for 2025, do you think it would make, obviously you weren't able to review all of the artist applications in September because we did the mural project. Do you think we should adjust the timeline for next year's Foyer Gallery application and submissions to end before the July meeting, so that the committee can review in July instead of September, to allow for more time to start shows in January?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
This was a stretch to get people showing in January.
Okay. So maybe we do.
Sooner the better.
So maybe what we look at for next year is to start the call for artists February or March, to do 2 months to receive them. Well, it wouldn't have to be quite that early. So it would be, because we have to think about timing for all the other stuff. I know we want to come back to the sculpture loan program probably in January or February. The other launch of the mural projects next year. Because what we want to do is kind of stagger the timing for each one of those, so we don't have everything kind of landing at once. And then managing all the different projects at the same time is something we need to kind of keep in mind too. But I think the Foyer Galleries, it's not terribly difficult to do the management of that. It's a fairly small operation, but I was thinking about that, that we might want to shift that time frame. Do you have a sense of what a preferred length of time for having the call for artists open be? Should it be a shorter period of time?
No, I think it should be a longer period of time. I
To receive more applications?
Yeah, I think putting it out as soon as possible, I mean, even in January would be fine, and just keeping it going in the e-news or wherever it goes, and then putting a timeline of like,
Yeah, I think there's probably, well, for the call for artists, I don't know if it's specific that it needs to be, but I think that's been the default, is like a 90-day. I think what we'd want to do is be able to receive everything by June, by the beginning of June, to give me enough time to get everything in, redact the applications, get them together so it's ready for your first meeting in July. Well, for your meeting in July.
yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
That's fine. Sorry, what was the 90-day?
90-day opening for requests for proposals or
Yeah.
for artists.
I think so. It might be in the arts master plan. I'll have to check. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it 90 days, the open applications, 90 days?
Yeah.
Does it have to be 90 days, or can we
That's-
extend that?
I think that's what we're, I think it's, some artists, I remember hearing that it's too long between the time that when they first submit it and then when it gets looked at. So that there's some balance in there, and talking with like arts professionals, that if we started in January, nobody does anything until it's due, into like the week before or something like that. There's some recommended timeframes. I remember in my conversations with Alameda County that they were saying that there was some pretty standard windows that organizations would present.
Well, could we possibly advertise that, we're going to open up,
Yeah.
to receive applications, and we receive them at this time, and please get them in at this time, and we will review them.
Yep.
I noticed, I saw a note from Isabel about maybe we don't necessarily tell the artists the exact time when we're going to review them, in case they actually show up and review it.
Yeah, so I think that, yeah, it doesn't need to be posted, that wouldn't be part of the application process when they would be reviewed specifically, because it may shift, like obviously
Yeah.
it did shift for September and October, but we'd see generally. Also, there is, you can kind of see it both ways. Would you have an open conversation about what you want to feature the Foyer Gallery if all of the artists were sitting here to listen to your conversation about, would it be as open? Would you feel as free to express your thoughts about the appropriateness of a particular artist's work for the gallery?
The other thing, would it be possible to have some sort of like rolling admission, so it's still open, but the sooner that they submit, more likely we are to
Probably not.
Earlier.
Everything would be submitted and all evaluated at the
At the
same
same time. Yeah, yeah.
I also had a kind of tangential question. Last time, I think we were confused about Eugenie's work and how that would conflict with the Seen and Heard project.
Yeah,
So would letting her in, and, you know, because she's doing it with someone else, that problem's kind of diverted, but would that have conflicted, and does Seen and Heard use the Foyer Gallery for one of the terms?
yes, it would have been an event, basically, in the Foyer Gallery and Community Center. So, yes, it would have been, we would have had to have committed to bringing her in as a show. It's a little bit bigger, like Susan Moffett and some of these other artists, where it's not just a single artist displaying. It's a thing. You know,
We have a whole panel of judges.
It's a group of artists that she would curate, and she was going to bring in spoken word artists. So there would be a thing for that. We'd have to allow the community center, get the community center to provide, you know, space and time, and but not for that.
It would be an overarching display of artworks as well as individual events throughout
Yes.
that period? Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, if we wanted to commit to that, we'd have to commit to it. It would take up a 3 months period. But that is off the table right now. She has found another space to do her event. Yeah.
One of the things that you also can consider, I think, in the spring, the Arts Committee will look at the art in public places, the PAPP, as well as the funding for the various projects. If you remember from last year, when the committee looked at it, there was a reserve of money for other types of projects. And so the committee may want to look at how perhaps Seen and Heard or other programs like that could be funded or supported by the Arts Committee through that funding outside of the Foyer Gallery. Maybe it's a different thing. That would usually require the artist to come with, here's something that the artist would like to do, and the Arts Committee can look at some different ways that it could help accomplish that goal and support it. You'd also want to think about, okay, well, I'm not just going to pick this one, you know, how do we reach out to the rest of the community of Albany and say there is additional funding for art projects, and you might want to think through the process of how that would happen, because I think the Foyer Gallery is specific to what it is there at the community center, and I think just in the confusion of the conversations around how do you incorporate something that is different from what that particular formula is for the Foyer Gallery, it was a bit of a challenge to figure out how something that's not just somebody's art on the walls, how you would incorporate it. And so maybe the Arts Committee would just look at the other, wait for somebody else to come with a different program in the future and find out other ways to support through another mechanism, as opposed to trying to fit that into the Foyer Gallery.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of falls into the Susan Moffat's Path to Belonging, which is very different. I mean, she started it with a bookmaking class, and then I honestly don't really know what her agenda is.
Well, that was more of a staff decision, working with the artists to find a way to display the work that they would be creating, and that was the most suitable place to have it. So essentially, staff and that program commandeered the Foyer Gallery for the last quarter. So it won't be wholly on you to figure out how to make that happen. It will be more on the artist to figure out how to make their project work in the space that is allotted. So I'm not terribly concerned about that, because One, Susan Moffett has done displays in the community center there before. She had a couple of other projects over the years that were kind of community-based projects that, so she will handle the installation and translating work that they're doing for that particular project for how it would fit onto the walls and how three-dimensional parts of that will fit into that space. That'll be a challenge, but that is something that she has agreed to do, and we'll figure out how to make the space work.
Okay, because the space is not conducive to three-dimensional.
No, and so there may be some accommodations, and this also may be an opportunity to see what a sculpture on a stand would be like in the, in the community foyer. We may see that. So it'll be exciting to see how that comes to be. There's also going to be some degree of reception or presentation about the entirety of the project in the community, in the large room of the community center. So there'll be some sort of larger opening of that show, artist talk, something like that.
Okay.
But I think your role as gallery manager, as much as you want to be involved, would be appreciated. But I think mostly we've just kind of decided that space will be allocated towards that project for some period of time at the end of 2025.
Okay, yeah, that is very similar, I think, to what Eugenie's seen in her project is. So we can, this is gonna be an interesting test, essentially, to see how it goes, and because Susan will be on top of it, and I assume she'll kind of propose to us exactly what she's gonna do, or?
I don't think she's going to be coming to because her project was already approved by the Arts Committee. And so it's primarily in working with staff. So I think her communication will be primarily with the staff at the community center, with myself as the liaison for her project. So I think realistically, it'll be your responsibility of gallery manager to ensure that the artist prior to her installation is cleared out, and then I'll let you know if I think there's anything that you may need to do, but I don't think so. I think it'll be mostly the city working with the artist, since it's already been approved by the committee.
Right. Will there, do we have to approve, her final, what she decides to do for the installation or anything, or it's already done?
Well, I don't know what it's going to be like, but that'll be the part of that. It'll be between the artist and us as staff at this point, since the committee has already done their approvals on the project as it is.
I can wash my hands of
You
this
can wash, yeah, exactly. But, we use that time to prepare for 2025 because by that time, actually, we should have artists that would have been selected at the July meeting in 2025. So that would be a time to get up on the artists that are coming in January 2026.
Okay, great. Good.
Do we want to start moving through the shared documents?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We can start with the application. So this is the application that we did last year, and this was a modification of what was done before. So we released it in April and then closed the applications right before September. So I think either we start it in March and finish in June. So it's a little bit. I think we actually extended this. We didn't have a lot of applications in July, and so we extended for another month.
I think starting it earlier is a good idea.
So this is the main description of the Foyer gallery, and I'm not sure. Has everybody had a chance to read this already? Okay. One of the things that I noticed with the description is this. When I put this application together, I was having to pull from multiple different sources. There was a little bit of information in the master plan. There was a little bit of information on the website. But I was wondering if this is enough information. It's probably enough information to be there, but is there anything else that we're missing in this description that should be featured to explain to somebody what the Foyer Gallery is?
This is the actual application?
This is the actual application, right? So as I'm looking through here, some of this content obviously will be in the artist agreement. It's very specific in terms of describing what it is. So it gives some directions here for how to apply. Asking for digital images, this is what they have to do for the postcard, gallery deposit, titles,
I
opening.
mean, I definitely think that like some clear, I'm just trying to pull up ours proposals, but it's really slow. So
You want me to pull up the
murals.
murals application?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking because, you know, like you already mentioned, there's no reference to the size of the space. And yet, if I remember correctly, it's asking for a complete list of artworks to be exhibited.
Right.
And how would they know that if they don't know how much space is available?
I don't, does it list exact number of pieces to exhibit? Because I think
No,
it just asks for like 8
images.
pieces to.
But then it also asks, it said, in addition, it says provide a complete work list. Those aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
No, they're
right.
not.
So we're basically asking for sample images for the community to review.
Yeah.
And then the complete list. So there needs to be a bit more clarity, I think, in terms of,
Yes, that's.
How many pieces are capable of being
yeah.
shown?
Well, that's a kind of a squishy thing because it depends on the size.
Yeah, I don't think it should, I personally don't think there should be any constraint on the number of pieces. That's
Right.
nobody's business but the artist.
Right, could be.
I think what is important is the dimensions of the space.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, you can't, that's probably one reason why it was hard to get applications. How could you submit everything if you don't know how much space is?
And also, the pictures are inadequate on the website to get a sense of what it actually is. So,
Scale, yeah.
so there needs to be some detail, wall 1, wall 2, wall 3, wall 4,
Yeah.
and then the
Yeah.
actual square footage, I would imagine.
Yeah, like, I can't find our application, but, you know, we gave very clear, you know, this many sides.
You guys went out and measured them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each side is this much, and it can go this high, and, you know,
That's actually a very good point because every artist I've worked with so far has brought that up. It's like, well, you know, because they have to come in and encourage them to come in and look at the space. We don't have actual dimensions
Yeah,
to
okay.
provide them.
and I think saying that up front. Are you looking for the application?
No, not right now. But I do remember how specific the murals project is. Actually, we do have it on the website still. I think the details, it's not the application itself, but if we look at, so there's a theme, there's specifications.
Yeah. 6 sides, each 3 feet
Yeah,
wide, 6 feet high.
Yeah, exactly.
32 square feet surface.
So I think that the compiling this information would be useful, or something equivalent that's appropriate for the Foyer Gallery.
I mean, you know, not to like say that what we did was so great, but I do think in a lot of ways like this, because we looked at so many other public art
Yeah,
what cities did and riffed off of it. And like, it seems like it's pretty clear
So
like
maybe-
the
so maybe-
commitments and,
Maybe what we do is we take this as a model
Yeah.
for the next application, and then, so I can, we have between now and whenever the application goes out to review the application. So this isn't something we necessarily need to do immediately.
right,
We can, even either tonight or at the January meeting, come up with maybe there's a subcommittee to do this work before, or this may be something that I can just do, with a little bit of guidance from you all. Because it's not like really reinventing the wheel, it's just a matter of just taking this other known program, the Foyer Gallery, and sliding this model over.
Other thing I wanted to bring up, near the beginning of the Foyer Gallery application, when it reads, "The artist must include a price list with contact information." That just seems a little jarring to me when I read it. Just because it seems very, like, you have to be
Yeah.
willing to sell it, and not all artists want to do that.
I did make a note of that as well, and said, if you plan to sell.
Or, the artist may include a price list,
Yeah, however it's
one
worded,
word, yeah.
just so they know, it's
It's not
a requirement.
required.
Because it does feel like it is required. Not everybody wants to sell everything, and honestly, several of the artists have already sold. So they're gonna put up paintings that have like, the red tag, and it's like,
It's already been sold, and I'm showing it here.
yeah,
I think
did tag that.
one of the things we changed for last year is only digital submissions, not taking hard copy submissions. Prior to that, some of the language, I remember working through this, and this was very last minute from after I inherited the Arts Committee and doing this, I was looking at some of the old forms, and they were having people mail in envelopes that get, returned, and, include a check for the postage so we could send your prints back to you. And now I think I'd rather have everything digital, everything is one PDF. But I think one of the things we learned with the mural applications, with the submissions that came in through PDF, is some people would put more information. It was actually usually to their detriment. The more information that they put in about the work that they did, the more easily it was determined that they were not right for the particular installation. That we maybe want to be very specific about. So, this would be a question for the committee to, how specific about the formatting of the submission. My hope was that people would understand how to put one image on one page of a PDF. But it was all over the place in terms of sizing and the way that the PDF is constructed. Some images were huge, the text was small, some scanned, so I think I would like to have a better format for them submitting, which we should be able to do with the new website. We had a limitation on our current website that we couldn't receive documents over 25 megabytes. And if people were putting high-resolution artwork into a PDF, it'd be very easy for them to exceed those limits. But I also don't want to manage multiple files from artists as they upload 10 different JPEGs of their artwork plus a PDF. There's some sort of delivery standard that we'd want to settle on so that it's easy for people to submit. And maybe that's just an online form that has 10 fields, and each field is one JPEG upload, something like that.
That would be great, because I did get a lot of confusion from the artists going, do I have to put all 8 pictures on one page? And that makes them tiny, and I can't,
Well,
blah, blah.
Yeah, and that's just, how do we teach people, I mean, some people who do this stuff, know how to assemble a PDF, and some artists don't. So how do we put in the explanation exactly what they need to do so that it's easy for you to review? Because essentially that's what they're doing, trying to give you a version of something to look at that is easy to understand.
Yeah. Does it have to be a PDF, or is that the best way to do it?
Yeah, I don't want to receive any other type of document that's not a PDF. I
Okay.
mean, they can always, one of the things that we did add for this one is a link to the artist's website. Hopefully they have a website, and we'd be able to use that as well as artist social media to get a better understanding of.
Not all of them have a website.
Exactly, so.
Noticed so, but I think being clear about we only want digital submissions, first off, in PDF form. Boom. And I don't think, because that's where the confusion was. People were asking, do I have to put all of my artwork on one page?
Yeah, one single PDF. That's
Yeah, one single, so that language would be, I mean, the PDF could have 300 pages. But
Yeah, but then you have the size requirement too. So it's like
we should probably specify one image per horizontal page, 8.5 by 11, right?
That's confusing though, because like people don't use those measurements.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
I mean, I think you're, because yeah.
So what I don't want to have to, I also would have them name their files specific things, because in the past, people would just upload whatever the image file name was, and if you're looking at 20 different artists, and each one of them has 10 images, and they're all labeled image 7687, it's really, if it's in the PDF, it won't happen. If the PDF is there and they've taken the time to assemble one image per page, one of the things that happens if they don't spend time in the PDF, their image will retain the same resolution, right? So if it's a 5,000 by 4,000 pixel image, then it makes, the image is huge, and then your text document is super teeny tiny, which makes it a little bit hard for us to share when I bring the PDFs up for you to look at.
Can we provide them with a template? Say,
Maybe.
this in?
Maybe we could have a sample application that they could look at, and maybe just by looking at that, they could see
Figure out. Yeah, okay.
how they should do it. Maybe some tutorials for how to manage PDFs. I mean, I don't want to do everything for them. People should be able to do that. But those are things that I've actually seen come in, and that we obviously need to make some changes to some of the text.
Definitely.
So I'm thinking as, like, if I'm an artist and I'm reading this, the last criteria to be used in selecting features artworks must be appropriately framed for use with the required security hardware.
Where are you looking at on this?
It's right above artwork that contains the following content is not permitted.
Okay, so,
Right,
so
the-
here, this is,
the line above,
it's right here.
yeah, the very last line. Is it that expanded on other parts in the?
No, I don't think so. I think it just says security hardware, but maybe we need to say specifically that the city of Albany uses this type of hardware, links out to it. Your artwork will need to be framed.
So it works with this.
What does the artist need to do their artwork to make
Yeah.
it ready for this?
Because I think that's one of the things that you've encountered. Okay, I've got 20 pieces, none of which are in frames. If it's going to be at the Foyer gallery, it would need to install frames so they can use the security hardware.
Yes.
What kind of hardware is used?
Security hardware.
Okay.
It's intensive, actually.
Yeah,
I walk every artist through how to. I've got a YouTube video that I don't have it. I sent the YouTube video of how to actually do it, because you've got to put 2 brackets in the frame at the top, one at the bottom, and you have to install on the wall these hangers. Then down below, you install this T-screw, which is the thing that locks the frame into place and can't be stolen.
So it's some kind of glass outer casing sort of?
No, it's all behind, but it secures the artwork to the wall so it can't be.
And I don't,
okay.
I think in the application, all that's needed is like, artists will be required to
Yeah.
comply with standards.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
we're in the weeds right here.
Yeah.
Somebody's not, you know,
They're not, they're, yeah.
In the
yeah,
application, they don't need to
Yeah.
know exactly what they need to do.
So we may want to change the language here to specify that there's a specific type of hardware, as opposed to they don't have to come up with the security.
right.
And that
Albany standards or something.
and that it doesn't need to be framed at the time of application.
Yeah, that it will need to be, need to be framed in order to be on the wall.
Yeah, on the wall, but for the application, that process shouldn't be required, I don't think.
Not for the application.
Yeah,
no,
but that's.
absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the,
Oh, is that what comes across?
that's the conflict here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that should.
Yeah, the criteria, it'll be, one of the criteria for selecting them will be if they're appropriately framed, which is,
Yeah,
That-
yeah,
that
it's not
is-
a criteria for acceptance.
Yeah, because I have a lot of artwork that I feel is appropriately framed, but could not be hung on these walls.
Yeah.
and you're there to walk them through the required steps when,
Yeah, and I have to do it each one of them so they understand it, and it's a process.
yeah.
But I think, again, we're just,
Yeah.
maybe we should keep going through this. We're getting really.
Yeah, and I think that there's going to be another part too to this entire process that maybe if you had some more information on the website, you could refer them to, that if you come up with all the things you need them to say, that you would put into an email, you can let me know and I can have that featured on the website. And so you could point them to, here are the things you need to do, like an FAQ, some sort of details for the onboarding. We can do stuff like that. In looking at this, the criteria, this all looks good. Artistic merit, appropriateness, medium style, original work, 2D, right? And then the framing, that all looks good?
Yeah,
This was something I think we talked a little bit about last time. Is there anything that is missing from what is not permitted?
One of these documents, it does say it's all at the discretion of the committee.
yeah, that would be nice to add.
Because I don't know.
Well-
some of these things.
None of these things would be at the discretion of the committee. Yeah, in terms, there wouldn't be any artwork that included this type of content would not go on the wall at that particular gallery, at the Foyer gallery.
And the line, any other content that would be prohibited from public display due to its graphic or obscene nature, that's kind of an all-encompassing sort of to the discretion.
Yes.
Yes.
Ultimately, yeah. And because of the nature of the space, were it to be an art gallery, in a private art gallery, anything could and should be shown. But the nature of, this is not a type of gallery space to, I don't want to say that's, there certainly should be a point of view, but it may not be the appropriate type for really radical artistic expression, just given that it's right there at the library. And I, for one, believe that I'm perfectly fine with all young people being exposed to art however it exists, but some people don't feel that way.
I agree, and this is a very public space. You know, kids coming in and out, and grandma and grandpa, and a lot of people.
I know one of the things that was mentioned is corporate logos and references, commercial messages. And I think that was something that came up from the last one about landmarks here in Albany. And I think that there's a difference between corporate logos and identifying locales in the community. However, featuring one business in a public space provided by the city does present some issues of equity, and we probably want to, I would say that sort of thing would be at the Arts Committee's discretion in terms of the appropriateness of the artwork. I noticed that there were some things that had 5 Little Monkeys or the Ivy Room. But I would say that, kind of pictured in context, it wasn't like an advertisement for the service.
Correct. Yeah.
More of a sort of part of Albany, and that's just happens to be there.
And it's just a painting. It's not advertisement at all.
We may get further clarification if that comes up again from the city attorney. There may be, but it was kind of like it's not really bad, not really good, but there wasn't a no, but it wasn't a yes.
Okay.
And although it does say in here, corporate references, even references to corporate
Logos. Yeah, but if that
comes up,
comes
we
up,
defend ourselves.
okay, that would have to happen very quickly because
I don't think that's, I looked at that and then shared it with Isabel. I think we're
you did. Okay, great.
the recognizable living persons, that was one of the artists from last year, had some very, very specific people that I thought was not, well, the committee thought that it wasn't quite appropriate for the space, so.
Okay.
Recognizable living persons, tribute artwork, that's something, okay. Is there anything else that we're missing here?
Well, with the murals, it also was no recognizable dead persons.
So maybe we recognizable living or dead people, okay.
Or just people.
Recognizable
Yeah.
people.
Well, I wouldn't be against having some nondescript citizen of Albany walking around in some artwork.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the example that was used, although he was still alive, was like Bill Cosby,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Right.
called the Bill Cosby rule. isn't it?
Yeah.
Cosby rule.
Yeah. So I just think it's
Right, and it makes
easier
sense. It makes sense there's a lot of other organizations and communities that use these, what's,
Stock shots or
yeah, to use this kind of type of criteria to, and this is very in line with what the county does. So it's good to model, but I was just wondering if there's anything else that we're missing, but it doesn't look like it, so,
it's actually a good point though. No living or dead.
Yeah. Is,
yeah. Or simply, like Deirdre said, just removing living, no recognizable people.
Jesus.
So this was a carryover from what the other letter was. We might want to look at this. So a letter of interest, if we do an online form, this may be just easy enough to make fields that people would be able to submit. But a summary of interest and practice, so looking at brief statements, career highlights, list no more than 3 or 4. This is all stuff from the previous. Summary of past or current experience. An artist statement, I think something brief is useful for you to understand where the artist is coming from. The proposal, provide a brief description of the gallery show. They can attach their resume or CV. Here's, I think, what we were looking at. Is there any other information that you would want from the artist in the initial application that's not listed here?
I just feel like that additional information, like unless you specifically say, I would include website.
I think in the form, we have websites.
Websites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because,
But yes, I agree. Maybe it needs to be listed here.
yeah, or just take out that additional information.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's like, a good sense of the person and their, you know, their work from
Where do
what's
we
here already.
say additional information?
It's down farther.
Oh, okay. There it is. You, please, we can just remove that.
I would remove it. I just think it's too subjective when we're trying to
Yeah.
evaluate things.
Yeah.
Who knows what they would put, and if they haven't said what they need to say in the above.
Yeah, then, yeah.
worth reading.
Because you can always ask more questions. Oh, no,
Or we
actually,
can go look on,
you
you
can go
know,
look at those
Yeah.
places.
yeah. I mean, I think last time when we reviewed, I wasn't here in October, but the time before when we reviewed things, we went to everyone's website
Yeah.
in the meeting.
Yeah, we
We
did.
didn't need anyone to tell us, I have 25,000 followers, or,
Right.
you
No.
know.
I kind of wonder about 8 digital images, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like sort of should be a minimum of 8 digital images because. You think so? Because you need at least 8 to fill the gallery. So we need to know. What?
This doesn't say
No.
that this is what they're filling the gallery. This just says images as samples.
Yeah, just samples.
Sample of the proposed gallery show.
Yeah, would it be better to evaluate only 3 images to understand the artist's work? You want to provide a range? I think in this instance, less is more, because I think it'd be easier for, say, if you get 20 applications to go through everything, but to understand what a show would be like, because we've seen that before, where we've looked at 2 images and then you see the rest of the show. Once they put it together, it's like, where did this come from? This doesn't have anything to do with the title of the show.
Yeah, to be honest, that puts a lot of responsibility on me
Yeah,
because I'm the one who's reviewing everything. If it's not up there, if it's not what they have submitted, then I have to review it and to make sure it's appropriate.
right.
It's like one of the artists showing next quarter, she already sold 3 paintings.
So
So,
they're not going to be included.
no, so she gave me images of the 3 other ones, and they're all very appropriate. So
This is a perfect point of, for the conversation about this. What is the best way, what is the best quantity and the best way? And perhaps from what Deirdre had done in the past with the murals project, she and Harsh were looking at other cities to find out what the norms are. Maybe that's something that, Brad, if you had time to go and look at other cities for their public galleries to see, or if anybody else from the committee would want to volunteer to come back at the next meeting with some information for, like, is it better to have more? Is it better to have less? I think I would err, maybe 5,
yeah.
just call it a day.
Although 8 seems a little random, it does give a good scope of what the gallery show would be like.
I remember there was one artist, and it was a husband and wife, and they had photography and painting, and,
We really liked the photography
Yeah.
and the painting, but it's
but
Not
together it didn't
together.
really make any sense.
Yeah.
thing.
And I think that had we only had 3, and if they were all just the photographs, I mean, yeah, you know what I mean, like, because you are percentage of the images that you're gonna you want to display, at least 25% of the pictures, the works you want to put on the wall. I mean, I don't know.
You don't want to be surprised
Yeah.
by what they put up on the wall.
Yeah, that's kind of thing. I don't want to be surprised.
Do you want to just ask for
I don't know, 5.
5 to 10? Leave it up to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we need to, so point that out where the two things are asking for different things.
So work list says provide a complete work list that clearly identifies each piece to be included.
Yeah.
Whereas digital images says that provide a sample.
So maybe we call this sample digital images as a header?
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
Work list first and then sample digital images after that.
And the work list would be a lot more, it would be more effective if we had the actual space we
Well-
talked about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dimensions.
And I feel like the work list is kind of a little early in just the Foyer application.
Well, they're
because
they're
they may, like I
proposing
said-
their show.
Yeah,
And so they should come prepared. If they're preparing a show, they should come prepared to know what the artworks are. Those can always change. And maybe we'd go proposed work list.
there you go,
How
yeah.
much value does it bring us to have a list of the titles of the works and
Well, and in it,
title of the work, year, the medium, the size, and the price? And if they had the size of the walls, they'd be able to know
yeah,
which sizes work best and
Yeah.
price may not be, price,
not be important.
but I think the year also would,
Year is
Useful.
important, yeah. Because that one artist had made it in the
Oh.
80s.
80s, yeah, that was,
We found that out through that, yeah.
And I do think that a work list is valuable in the sense that it shows that the artist has a vision.
yeah.
You know,
And also with the title, sometimes when they have a website, you may be able to see what those titles are if they have it on their
yes, if they're
yeah,
listed.
true. But I do agree, I don't think we need the price.
Price that, yeah, that, anyways,
Yeah.
who would hold them to it in any case?
No, yeah, size is also important because you want to know if you're looking at 8-inch by 11-inch.
Or 8 feet by 10
By
feet.
2,
Yeah.
yeah, by 10 feet.
It's like, well, that's not gonna
Yeah.
fit anywhere.
Yeah. And hopefully with the sizes of the walls, that'll be less of an issue in the future.
This
Yeah,
is- this is
speaking
some-
of, we can go over that later, but.
The acceptance, this is all pretty good. I think this, I may end up taking the direct inquiries instead of Joy.
Okay.
And, but do you think that we should include in the letter, in the proposed, should we include in this text above a request for a website and social media specifically? Or should we just list it here in the actual application itself?
I think website is there.
Yeah.
It's there, but Deirdre was suggesting that we remove additional information and not have it be additional. Maybe it's specific information or social, or look at another way to term, supplemental content, links to social media, online video, press coverage. Some people have supplied that, some people don't have that.
Right.
But I think it is useful for the committee to look at their website if they have one, their social media if they have one. It's pretty easy to kind of see the breadth of the artist's work that way. Looking at somebody's Instagram or
Maybe, well, right now it's on the actual cover page of the application.
so maybe we just call it out, social media, website. Please provide your handle and your website available. And then we include it
Right.
here. I think the proposed title of the exhibit, I think, is really important. Number of works to be displayed, is that relevant, or can that go?
I think in the application, it's going to be a TBD for a lot of these people.
Maybe just remove that if they've already.
Yeah.
You have the list, yeah.
Yeah, because they don't know the space for sure, and they won't necessarily know all the pieces that they're going to be able to show.
One of the other things that I realized too is that not everybody remembered in putting their application together to take this last page and put it in there. So they would send all of this stuff, but they wouldn't include the actual, this page, or like as a form. So I think there will be a number of technical specifics to the form that I'll address.
And any supplementary
Yeah.
materials? What would that?
No, that'll be removed.
Okay.
As well as, and I think I also might remove
price.
the application checklist
Yeah.
from the application form
Oh.
itself.
Yeah.
This was all just kind of repurposing the other version, because I had to do that kind of at a staff level. We didn't really have time to do this with the committee last year before the application had to be ready.
Right.
So I just modified what was existing, put it into this format, but then after this, we came and redid the murals application. And working together with Deirdre and Harsh, we really dialed that application in, and we can bring some of that language and organization to this process.
Massive, the big issue, no original artwork will be accepted.
What?
Inside the last paragraph, the third line down in the center. Yeah, mouse right there.
Oh, yeah.
What?
That's left over probably.
No, so, and that's about being, please do not send us your original artwork for us to evaluate as the Arts Committee. That needs to be- It's not original artwork for submission to the gallery, but don't bring your frames printed here for the gallery,
Oh, okay.
for
Okay.
the committee to review for 2 months before, you know what I mean?
Right.
Don't drop off prints, don't bring your framed,
Because we have a PDF
exactly,
requirement that can be removed. Okay.
exactly.
I was like, whoa, am I reading that correctly?
But yes, that language should be clarified.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, so I think that was pretty good. I think the other stuff we can go through, be a little bit faster with that, so we can still be the most efficient.
Most efficient stuff.
So in the master fee, in the Arts Master Plan, this is the language here. And this was likely when the master fee schedule, when the Arts Master Plan was created, they probably just took the language from the existing letters. There was a couple of things in here that talks about the gallery manager, but this is more about the process, right? Arts Committee provides security hardware, but here this is where that language comes from. The flowers, coffee, and punch. That doesn't happen anymore. We may need to update the master plan to remove that with the actual specifics that a table is provided, a couple of chairs, and the artist can, if they would like to, provide refreshments. And so we probably will need to make an adjustment to the master plan in addition to the gallery agreement.
And then this is just something that I noticed. So I seem really picky, but I was an editor for decades. So the actual name of the gallery has different.
Yes, I've realized that too.
It's actually very confusing to a lot of people.
Yeah, sure.
Does this committee have a strong preference as to whether it's called the Community Art Gallery, the Foyer Gallery, the Albany Community Center Foyer Gallery? You want to think about this? Because I think this is actually all of the work that I'm doing on the City of Albany website right now is cleaning up all of those inconsistencies everywhere. So this is very much in line with, I think, how things have been considered in the past. There always hasn't been good editors around to look at these.
Yeah.
And there will be updates I'm on the Foyer Gallery.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the,
New artist will be,
yeah, the new artist is not included. Some other processes that we'll also need to determine. This was the first time when I put the former artists on the website that had ever been done, where we'd actually feature the current artist. But I think that'll be something we need to coordinate for the gallery opening so that we can do the right type of e-news notification, news on the website, social media, et cetera, to promote attendance at the gallery opening. And then for the duration of the artist, that we feature them on the website as well. And maybe we want to detail that in the artist agreement. This is the one that has the most pressing
Yeah.
need for this to be changed and reformatted so that Brad can sign agreements for the 2025 season. Because currently, this is the artist agreement, and it is somewhat insufficient. What would happen before is the artist would be presented with this, and then they would have to initial kind of along the way. There's not really even a checklist. They're just kind of these initials, and it's not very, one, graphically, it's just a little complicated to understand what's going on. Whoever created this logo, that will get deleted. The cursive will get deleted, whatever this italic. There's a variety of things that just need to be cleaned up. But in terms of the actual information, I'm assuming everybody got a chance to look at that. Is there anything else that should be removed or added or that is problematic in this document?
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, and this kind of goes through the whole price list with contact information and everything.
Show me, where is that?
Right there. To include a price list with contact info.
Okay.
It's like if you intend to sell.
Okay, so, yeah.
Because it's kind of like you're selling your stuff here.
I do like how it says, Arts Committee at its sole discretion. Use offensive to the public. Next line.
Yeah, and this is inconsistent with what we just said.
Yes, yeah,
It is.
yeah.
So I think what we need to do is coordinate the exact language from the application to be the exact language here, and maybe there's that same checklist and they initialed the checklist again. Something like that. Yeah. The artwork is insured. Yeah, that's, and then they also agreed that their work will remain on display, so they can't come in there early and pick up a piece because they got a sale and they need to move it.
We did actually do that.
Did you?
Yeah. Somebody sold a piece and she replaced it with.
Well, and then if that's okay, should we just remove that and leave that up to the gallery manager? Or is that something that should be specified that it is understood or that we are flexible or?
I don't know. What other people think?
Removing it during if they sell a piece.
Yeah, I mean, she was very upfront. She asked me about it, and as long as I replace it, it's okay. And
It would go through you.
I would prefer they leave it up.
Yeah.
We just put the reg sticker. This is sold.
So maybe we need to specify that in this agreement, that it says our will stay there and will be indicated as sold, or something,
Yeah.
something very.
Yeah, something like that.
The other thing having to do with prices, I know we talked about removing price earlier, but because they're insured and fine artwork hung for temporary display is insured for the fair market value, would it be valuable for them to share their estimate of the fair market value
Yes.
at the beginning?
Yeah, I think they'll need to do that in order to have an understanding for if the building was to burn down and they lost all of their artwork.
Right.
So we want them to evaluate it in the list section, but we would just want to add that that's for insurance purposes.
Yeah, well, you know, the price list, if they're not intending on selling, should still be, that will be something for you to receive, so that you know what the value is for those particular pieces.
So each piece basically needs to have some kind of price attached to it, whether they're selling it or not.
Yeah,
In case
so
building burns down.
I think so.
Yeah, so do we add that then to
Well,
this?
That would be, so yes, we should add some language about that.
Add some language to the application when it says,
Not the application, we don't need it,
No,
it'll
this
just need
is
it
the-
for the artist agreement. And,
This is when they've already,
and then
they've
when,
been accepted, they
Accepted.
should share a price list with.
yeah.
and then you would review this agreement with them so that in advance, it's not like you give this to them at some point and then they provide that information to you as the gallery manager so that you see it and you have a copy of it.
Yes, whether or not they're selling.
Yeah. And then here is I'll format this a little bit differently. The city, I might also send this to the city attorney for them to review this release of liability.
Right.
You may have some other, the photo release.
I had a question about this. It seems a little weird, authorize the use of my image or my child's image.
I think that may have just been borrowed from the standard photo release that the city of Albany has for others. So maybe we should customize that.
Because I know last one, but anyway,
Yeah.
one of the openings, there were a lot of photos taken with the artist and her family. So it was like mom, dad,
So
cousins. and-
the way that this is the standard photo release that the city uses for their programs, specifically in the recreation department. So you're at an event, picture gets taken, by being there or by signing up for a program, your face or your likeness would be on the recreation guide or featured on the website or something like that. That's what the photo release is for. So if there's images of people taken at the gallery opening or by being there, there should be some signage up during that time if there's going to be a photographer. But we haven't used those images. It may go into e-news. We had a great time at this arts
Right,
gallery
right.
image. People are a little bit more flexible about that. But I can see that this specific photo release language from another part of the city needs to be modified for use here.
Yeah.
Also, is it important to say that photographs can be taken of your art?
I think that would be, well,
Is
it's
that
on
like-
public display.
Yeah.
We might need to look at that. Maybe somebody could look at some other galleries and find out what the policies are at other galleries. Do they allow photography in there of the artwork, or do they not?
Oh, I don't know. Question. I was just in a gallery, young gallery, and they allow photographs.
Did the artists have to be?
Most were dead, so I don't know.
Well, their states.
I don't know. That's a good question.
The last piece to look at, and we don't have to finish all of this here tonight, but this was the website text from 2023. I don't think much has really changed.
One show will be dedicated to a group show at the end of the year. Is this still accurate?
No.
No.
No, I that's another one. I would like to allow, and this is another one also. We sponsor 4 to 5 art shows per year.
Yeah.
Just making it, I think 4 is a good number, but
Quarterly shows, right? More or less?
yeah. You never know. Things get fluid, and I'd like to allow for a group show, but it doesn't have to be at the end of the year.
And it doesn't need to be dedicated.
No, that's a good point. No, it is not. When a show, group shows are allowed to provide opportunities and rising
Or
artists.
even, encouraged.
Yeah, so I think that'll be one of the main things that will be changed. I'll look at modifying this language and then I'll bring it back to the committee.
Okay.
And if you could all just email me either notes that you've taken, I've taken some notes here, but if you want to just send me a note with anything that stood out to you, I'll compile that and then make these changes the artist agreement won't come back to the committee, because I need to get that together for Brad to use ASAP with the current artists. But I think that when we have the new site ready, which likely would probably be the committee's February meeting, I don't know if we will have gone live, but I'll be able to at least share some of that information with the committee, review the language, see what it looks like. I think we want to change it so that group shows are part of what could be proposed.
Yeah.
Do you have any limit to the number of artists in a group show? Do you want to say no more than, no less than?
Honestly, I don't. You know,
Discretion of the gallery manager? Something
yeah,
like that?
I think Seen and Heard probably had anywhere from 20 to 40 artists in the show.
Yeah, so you wouldn't want to say no more than 10 artists, right? You know.
No. It's just, I hate saying this, but it would be at the curator's discretion.
Yeah.
I may not be the curator.
Right. Well, and that there is something also, you, the gallery manager, the curator would be the artist. Ultimately, the gallery manager would say no to some
Oversee it.
curated.
Yeah. I would oversee, like, if Eugenie did her Seen and Heard, I would have to oversee the entire thing,
Yeah.
including the spoken word.
And I think, so you as a volunteer, you as a committee member, is that reasonable for the amount of time that you have? That would be something to think about, whether or not that's more work than doing one artist, for example. I don't know why it wasn't included before, or why that there was any particular type of reason to not include group shows. But I don't see an issue with it.
I don't see an issue with it, honestly.
And also, I think it would be good to maintain that connection to the high school, and maybe perhaps build that in as a regular opportunity for if the arts teacher at the high school, or even at the middle or elementary schools, if they wanted to coordinate something that was, I think that would be a good venue for something like that. But they would need more advance notice, and that may not work on this particular schedule for January through the end of the year.
And we may have to be a little more lenient about the required hardware
Right.
group shows, because that tends to be a lot of shows, especially we did a bunch of, elementary and middle school and high
Something to
school
consider.
kids.
Something to consider.
you know?
It'd be a lot of work for the teacher, because the students likely wouldn't be able to do that.
They're not going to be able to frame everything to fit our hardware.
So that may also be something to consider. Maybe that's a day. Maybe that's a different way of displaying things for one day
Yeah.
in between shows, where it goes up on an tack or a nail before it gets ready for another show,
Yeah.
or a weekend or something like that.
Yeah. I like all these options, just to kind of liven up the gallery. I think it's in great shape right now, but I'm way open to
Okay.
moving things on.
Well, I think I have what I need. There is nothing that needs to be voted on or approved tonight. Are there any other comments or thoughts about, as a committee, what should this gallery, what should be the common term for that space?
I am for the Albany Community Center Foyer Art Gallery.
As the full, the A,
The ACCFAG.
maybe not. That's a bad acronym. That's a bad acronym.
You don't vote for that?
I don't vote for it either, I'm sorry.
I just think it gives the most information.
I just will.
I think it can be referred to that, but in common, what do people call it? Is it Community Art Gallery?
I would go just
That works.
word Albany Community Art Gallery, and I would probably add at the library. Nobody knows where the
That's it's true. So So Albany Art Gallery, Albany Community
Albany
Community Art Gallery.
I like that.
Albany Library Community.
That's
Community Art
not going
Gallery.
to happen because it's not a library program.
Right.
Because people refer to the library, you know, it's just one of those things that I don't think it will be called the library, or I don't think we'd identify it from the city's point of view of at the library. But it makes more sense to the community because I think more people understand that building as the library than the.
Yeah.
If someone is unfamiliar with the art gallery, they wouldn't know where to go if it was called the Albany Community Art Gallery. That could be in Solano somewhere on a wall.
That's why I'm saying add the addendum
Yeah.
at the library.
Maybe that becomes something you do in the marketing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I change all of the text throughout the documents and the website, Albany Community Art Gallery.
Art gallery.
Albany Community Art Gallery, the ACAG.
ACAG.
CAG.
ACAG.
ACAG.
Yes.
ACAG. ACAG.
Works.
ACAG.
Yeah. I think that works. So does all this go in
All
front
cops
of
are good.
the council?
No,
It doesn't? Okay.
this is just something that we will be working through at a staff level now that you've had a chance to opine on it. I'll try and get the artist agreement done as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe within a week. Certainly before the holiday. I'll try to get it done by the end of the week, but that may be unrealistic. But certainly by the beginning of next week so that you can make contact with the artist and get that started.
Yeah, thing is, I've already had to make contact with the artist.
Yeah, well, I mean, to go over the agreement.
Yes. Yes, that would be great.
Okay. All right, so I think we're good with that? Okay. I don't imagine there'll be a lot of subcommittee updates, but does anybody else have anything to?
I assume the heron sculpture is going through Public Works and it's in process.
Kind of in that world, the project manager has not had time to really look at it, but we've talked about it a couple times.
It's going to take a while, but it's on its way.
And then,
You hear that the Albany bulb has been declared toxic?
well, yeah, yes and no. There's an article. It's safe levels of toxicity, apparently.
I
okay, so we're
extreme levels of toxicity.
So there's
What source is this from?
Interweb.
yeah.
Web.
There was an article in the Los Angeles Times.
Oh, so LA is telling us our waters are toxic. Okay.
Yeah, about like that. About X-ray. Yeah.
Yeah. I assume it came from Albany. Why would
It used to be a dump. Yeah.
Elevated radiation detected at former Bay Area landfill turned art park.
So
There it is. Yeah.
okay, I don't think there's any other subcommittees, correct?
No.
Any future agenda items?
So, Jeremy, can you just explain what happens next
Or the,
for our committee?
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So everybody, I imagine everybody's already submitted their application again? All right. So the new council will reach out and make appointments to all of the advisory bodies. There is a very good likelihood that you will be reappointed if you have a relationship with your council member. If you've talked with them already, likely they would be looking for feedback in terms of what has been done, how you felt about your participation on the committee. They may appoint others. It's always possible, really, it's at the council's discretion. But I think for the most part, they're looking for a continuity of a productive advisory body that is doing good work. So there's not any particular reason to make radical changes. However, it's at their discretion, so they will be seeing all of the applications. They'll be seeing that people who are applying for their, the committee that they're currently on obviously want to continue staying there. There's also good reason with ongoing projects to be part of the continuation. So
Right. But to be clear, you do have to reapply.
everybody has to reapply, submit their application, and I think there should be some impetus for them to get that done. I think this current group continues through January, so, and then at their first couple meetings, they'll start managing their appointments. Now that the new council is here, so they'll start their work as this council at next Monday's meeting.
I heard there was like a 45-day,
Yeah.
grace period.
Grace period, yeah.
Where at any point, if you got voted out, you could be voted out, but you could stay on doing nothing.
So don't need to fill out an application.
Everybody has to fill out. Everybody fills out the application.
When should we do that by?
You should be doing it as soon, if you know that you want to do it. I think that the online application is open now.
I did it today.
Today? Okay.
It's pretty easy. It's the same one you filled out before.
Yeah. So does that answer your question? Future agenda items, at the January meeting, we may look at getting ready to put the sculpture loan application out that Emily and Melanie put together. That's just about done. Might want to put some eyes on that so that we can get that rolling. Announcements. I didn't mean to let you know that we sent the contract to Jeff Dowling to actually purchase his artwork on the Greenway. So yeah, the Bard Spiral.
Other thing.
So that's in the works. Just waiting to receive that back, and then the city will have actually purchased its very first artwork from the Sculpture Loan Program.
Nice.
That's the first money that we have spent in my year and a half of being here.
Yeah.
You think of more ways to spend money.
Yeah.
But if there are any future agenda items, please share them with me. Next meeting is Monday, January 13th, unless anything changes. So with that, Lynn, you are welcome to adjourn the meeting.
At what point do you need to know about any future agenda items? Because I may not know anything that I want to.
Those can usually be, shared with the chair, or usually the chair and staff put together the agenda item. So if you just send it to me, and then I'll discuss with the chair, and if there's room.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Is there a public comment that needs to be?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, and I will adjourn this meeting.
All right.
Adjourn.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Rammer.
Have a great season, and